The Decision, Part 1. Hi, my name is Johnny B. Jenkins Sr. I am 47 years old and I live in Hawthorne, California. Yeah, I've heard every Johnny B. Good joke written. I'm aware of how close my name is to the famous guitar player. The events in this story happened about 10 years ago. You will hear some of the events from my perspective, but some parts of this story will be told from the perspective of my former wife, Rose. We have 3 excellent children whom we both love very much. Oh, and our relationship? Well, that's a bit strange. Let me explain. Rose and I met during our first year of college at the University of Colorado. I was a young, aspiring lawyer majoring in criminal justice. Rose was studying English literature. We were set up on a blind date by our mutual friends. Rose was petite, 5 foot 2 inches tall and weighed 130 pounds. She had an average body highlighted by a set of sturdy D-cup breasts. They were a gift from her mother, who was also petite and had large breasts. I liked her from the first day I met her. To make a very long courtship story very short, we hit it off perfectly. We became friends, lovers, and over time, life partners. We got married about 6 months after we both graduated from Colorado. I was working at a local bank as an underwriter and had just passed my LSAT to enter law school at UCLA when Rose got pregnant with John Jr. We decided then that Rose would stay home for a little while until Jr. was ready to start preschool. 2 years later, I was just graduating from law school when our daughter Miranda joined us. I then took a different job with the same bank in the legal department as a staff lawyer. 3 years after that, baby Melanie joined us, making our family complete. As soon as Melanie started preschool, Rose took a job with a local wholesale book reseller in the sales support department. Fast forward 12 years. Junior is now 14 years old, Miranda is 12 and Melanie is 9. I'm now a vice president and deputy general counsel at the bank. Rose was putting in about 30 trouble-free hours a week at the book distribution company. We seem to get along fine. We are truly lovers and friends. One day, I was the first one home due to a small fire in our office building. I discovered that our house had been broken into. I called the police and then Rose. She rushed home as the police made their way over. We walked through the house with the police, making note of everything that was missing or had been rummaged through. We didn't lose much beyond a couple of smaller TVs. Our most sensitive valuables are kept in a safe deposit box at the bank I work for. Still, Rose and I wanted to do something to safeguard our home against another forced entry. We agreed that I would begin talking to a few security contractors about how to best prevent another forced entry. I spoke to my boss at work and he recommended a very good security company. The salesperson suggested a motion-activated security system that would send a silent alarm to the police within 60 seconds of a forced entry. I was sold. I told him that I would run everything past Rose later when she got home and give them an answer the next day. Rose was satisfied with the system's capabilities. I showed her how everything would work and we decided to say yes. The next morning, I made an appointment to get the system installed. When the crew came to install the system, they told me about a special offer. It seemed my system has video and audio capabilities built in. They told me that they would throw the service in free of charge for 1 year for us to try with no obligation. You can't beat free. I told them to go ahead. Every sensor in every room has a tiny micro camera that records to the cloud 24/7 365. The technician set my cell phone up to monitor the system. They finished their work, I paid the installation fee and they were on their way. When everyone got home that night, I showed them how to arm and disarm the system. That was on a Saturday. Life went on for a few days like normal. The kids made a few mistakes disarming the system, but they eventually got comfortable with the new routine. The next week I received a push notification on my iPhone. It was from the security company. When I clicked it, a digest of short videos appeared on my phone. It was clear they were from the security system in the house. I thought I remembered the technician telling me that the cameras would stop recording when the system is disarmed. That way, we never had to worry about private areas of the house being on camera. In theory, the cameras would only activate if the alarm was triggered. Perhaps it had malfunctioned. Anyway, there were 5 videos. All of my wife as she moved through the house. Only the final video drew my interest. Was that another person in our bedroom? I clicked on the video. I was amazed by the quality of the audio and video. I immediately recognized the man in the bedroom with Rose. His name was Melvin Armstrong and he was Rose's former boyfriend when we were in college. Rose had broken up with him a few months before we first met. I turned up the volume on my phone so I could hear their conversation.
That was incredible, my lover.
Rose purred to Melvin.
You are my inspiration, baby girl. You charge me up like the Energizer Bunny.
Melvin replied.
Well, Mr. Bunny, you'd better be careful. My most fertile days are here. You don't want to have any more kids, do you?
Rose said playfully.
We already have Johnny, Miranda, and Melanie together. And yes, I want another one with you, my darling. I want a whole house full of children with you.
Melvin declared with feeling.
Well, my king, you are in luck. You just might put another baby in me today.
How do you think the idiot will feel about you getting pregnant again? He'll have another kid to raise for us.
Melvin asked.
Don't speak like that about my husband, Melvin.
Rose said with irritation.
He may be a clueless idiot, but he is a sweet clueless idiot. Plus, he is a good provider and caregiver for your children. Any more talk like that and you can get out of his bed. Why did you insist on coming here anyway? We could have just met at the Hilton like normal.
No, my dear, this is my bed now.
Melvin answered.
I came here to claim my territory and show that I am the alpha male in this situation. I'm sorry for talking bad about him, but I didn't say anything that is not true.
Well, that is reasonable, I guess.
Rose responded.
You are definitely the alpha male. That is why I didn't want kids by John. I wanted all of my kids to be by the same father and to have strong alpha genes. Plus, John cannot satisfy me with his tiny manhood. I need your giant eggplant deep inside of me, my sweetheart.
Rose said lovingly.
Yes, my dear.
Melvin answered.
I always look forward to the third week of the month when my sales route brings me to town. Hey, so serious talk, John has never questioned the children's paternity. I mean, little Melanie looks just like me, Rose.
Melvin asked.
He's never really seen you, Melvin, and he never will. So we are 100% safe.
Rose said reassuringly.
Now hurry up and put this new baby in me, mister.
They begin to have closeness. I turned the video off. Needless to say, I was devastated and disgusted. Not only has Rose been sleeping with her old boyfriend for the last 14 years, but all 3 of my so-called kids were fathered by him. She will probably announce that a 4th child is on the way soon. I went through all of the emotions you might expect. I wanted to go home, open my garage, get a chainsaw and go after both of them like you might have read about in other stories like this. But that is just not my style, dear audience. I sat at my desk just staring out of the window, contemplating what to do next. Rose.
I know what you may be thinking. I'm a repulsive, nasty traitor bitch. I can understand those sentiments, but please allow me to give you a little of my side of this story before you pass judgment. You see, I really love my Johnny. I have been in love with him since the day I first met him. But you have to understand a little bit about my history with Melvin. Yes, we were broken up when I first met John, but I could never really give him up in my heart. It's purely physical. Mel dominates me like no other man ever has. To be honest, I'm addicted to him. Like a drug. His body, his scent, and his, well, manhood. It's so big and it fills me up completely. But I could never be with Mel as a life partner. He's arrogant, brash, insensitive and hates children. That's why he's still single and unattached. Most women see right through him and only use him for physical pleasure, including me. But my Johnny is like a yellow Labrador. He's sweet, loving and ready to lick my face anytime I'm feeling down. I knew I wanted to marry him 6 months into our relationship. Oh, and about that. Despite what you may be thinking, I did not continue sleeping with Mel after I met Johnny. Mel and I reconnected about a year after Johnny and I married. Mel is a traveling salesman and I ran into him in front of Starbucks one day as I was running errands. I never intended to rekindle any kind of relationship with him. I was truly happy to be Johnny's wife. That day, I agreed to sit for coffee with Mel. I hadn't seen him in about 4 years. At the end of our 30-minute talk, we exchanged numbers. He told me that he was in town for 2 days per month to call on his paper company clients. I saved his number but I never intended for us to see each other again. The next month, Mel called me for lunch. Johnny was working late at the bank so I agreed. 1 lunch and 3 glasses of wine later, I found myself in Mel's bed at his hotel. It was absolutely incredible. I was like a recovering addict who relapsed. I took a hit of my drug of choice and fell off the wagon. I was hooked again. I have a fulfilling love life with Johnny, but to be honest, I'm so ashamed to admit this. But I have never experienced an orgasm with him. Not once. Yeah, I know that I should have talked to him about it from the first time we were intimate. I should have very tenderly shown him how to physically love and satisfy me. But at that time, I felt it was a man's responsibility to figure those things out on his own. I know now that it's total BS and I admit that I really failed Johnny in that critical area. As a result, Johnny just cannot hit the spot. He never has done it even once since the very first time we were intimate. But Mel, he just knows how to push all of my buttons. I finish harder than reinforced steel whenever I have closeness with him. I missed his touch so much. I just didn't realize it. After the first time I cheated with Mel, I cleaned myself up and went home to pretend that everything would be all right. But it wasn't all right. I knew that things would never be the same again. I was prepared to chalk it up as a one-time secret mistake that I would bury in my closet forever. But Mel made me pregnant that day. I found out 2 weeks later. I couldn't hide that fact. I hadn't been with Johnny over that same period of time. From that moment, I knew that I was in too deep. After finding out that I was pregnant, I spent the next 2 weeks killing Johnny with sex so that he would believe the baby was his. It worked. I wanted to name our son after his real father. But, mostly out of guilt, I allowed Johnny to name him after himself. I also decided that I wanted all of my kids to be Mel's and have his alpha DNA. So I planned for just that. I started birth control pills on a cycle that would make me most fertile when Mel came to town. When Johnny finished law school, I decided that it was time for another baby. I easily got pregnant from Mel with Miranda. Then I went home and killed Johnny with sex just as I did before. Miranda is Mel's grandmother's name. When I was ready for one more, Mel gave me Melanie. Same routine. Since I planned for this to be my last child, I named her Melanie in honor of her father. The children all look like me and have the appropriate hair and eye color. Johnny never suspected a thing. I am very ashamed to say this as well, but since I first slept with Mel after running into him in front of Starbucks that day, I've never missed one of his monthly visits. I have had one day of closeness with him every month for the last 14 years. In the big picture, it's only 12 days per year. For the other 353 days out of each year, I am a loving and faithful wife to my sweet Johnny. For all 14 of those years, I always met Mel at his hotel every month. But this month, Mel insisted on having me and Johnny in I's marital bed. He gave me some line about asserting his dominance over John or something. I think it's all BS, but I gave in and allowed it anyway. We are so lucky that we didn't get caught. I'll never take that risk again. As I said before, Johnny has never suspected anything through the years. He adores all 3 of Mel and I's children. And before you ask or assume anything, no, I am not dreaming of running away with the children to marry Mel and live happily ever after as a family. As I said earlier, Mel is essentially an asshole and he hates kids. Plus his $35,000 per year salary would have us living in poverty with 3 kids in tow. Correction, make that 4 kids. I just finished peeing on the stick. I'm pregnant again.
Part 2. John. It's been a couple of weeks since I received the videos from our alarm system. I finally got myself together emotionally and it was time to try and figure out a game plan. At 10:40 a.m., I went to see Harold Davis, my good friend and fellow lawyer. He gives great advice. I told him my sordid story and showed him the security system video.
Wow, dude, you sure got yourself in a jacked up situation here.
Harry said, "Tell me about it." I replied,
So if we are to believe what Rose was saying in the video, she has been in a 14-year affair with this Melvin guy and Melvin is the biological father of all 3 of your kids.
"Sounds like it." I agreed. "What should I do now?"
Well, I hate to give you a lawyer's answer, my brother, but the action you should take depends on how you look at the situation.
Harry explained. "Go on," I said, encouraging him to continue.
Well, before I break down your options, Johnny, let me ask you a few questions. Do you love her?
"Yes," I flatly admitted, not knowing why anymore, but I was being honest.
Do you love the children?
"I adore my kids, and that won't change no matter who donated their DNA. Nothing in that relationship will change."
Do you want to remain in the marriage?
"Not sure,"
Okay,
Harry responded.
let's go over a few options. You could do nothing. Pretend you never got that video. Allow Rose to have her 1 experience per month and live your life. You could confront her, file for divorce, and sue her and Melvin for paternity fraud. You could confront her, make her end the affair, choose to stay in the marriage. Then sue Melvin for paternity fraud and child support. What do you think?
Harry asked. "They all sound shitty to me," I replied. "I mean, I love her, but Harry, it is evident that I'm not enough for her. She never lost feelings for her old boyfriend."
I understand, my friend.
Harry sympathized.
Do you know if she is currently pregnant?
"I'm not sure," I replied, "but I'm keeping my eye on her. I know she took a pregnancy test earlier today. I never called the security company to have them fix the glitch in the system that allowed the cameras to stay on after the system has been deactivated. I'll get around to that one day though."
For now, I suggest we go on a fact-finding mission.
Harry then reached into his desk.
Johnny, this is an identity kit for children. It includes enough supplies to collect DNA samples for all 3 kids. Get their swabs, swab yourself, and bring the kit back to me. We should have results in a week or so. Let's confirm that you are not their biological father. Then we will go from there.
I took the kit and left Harry's office, promising to return it as soon as possible. On the drive home, my brain finally started putting more of this sordid puzzle together. When I think back on the timeline around when all 3 kids were conceived, Rose nearly killed me with closeness for about 2 weeks. She told me she was fertile. What a deceitful bitch. I imagine that she is going to try to have closeness with me every day for a few weeks to make me think the new baby is mine. But I have other plans. It's time to act. Rose.
I knew I had to start Operation Screw Johnny into oblivion. Tonight, I sent the kids to my parents' house and cooked Johnny's favorite dinner. I made our bed up with fresh sheets and lit scented candles all over the place. I needed to get him going tonight. The calendar is working against me. After I got the roast in the oven, I hit the shower to get myself clean and ready for loving. While Johnny does not, and has never, excited me sexually, I still love him and I want him to be happy and satisfied.
John. I pulled into the garage. The lack of lights on in the house told me that Rose must have sent the kids away. I was prepared for battle. The game? Chess. As in chess, I will start with easy moves so I can get the board to set up how I want it. I walk in the house and immediately smell roast beef and candles. Yeah, she wants to have closeness.
My darling.
Rose said seductively.
Take a shower and join me for dinner. I already have your dessert prepared.
She said as she ran her hand all over her body. I put my briefcase down and walked into the living room. It was time for the game to begin. Everything looks and smells delightful, dear. I told my cheating wife. But I'm feeling unwell. I think I'll lie down after a quick shower.
Oh, my poor baby.
Rose said sympathetically.
Why don't you lie down and let mommy make you feel better?
She purred as she approached to hug me. I held up my hands to keep her from getting close. No, my dear, I don't want you to get sick. I'll just hit the guest room. If I'm not feeling better by the morning, I'll go to the doctor.
Okay, honey.
Rose finally gave up for tonight.
I'll give you a rain check for tomorrow. I hope you feel better.
I took a quick shower and settled down into the guest room for the night. Mission accomplished. The next morning, I told Rose that I was feeling better but would call the doctor anyway just to check in. When I got to work, I talked to my boss. I explained the situation and asked for an emergency out-of-town assignment of at least 2 weeks. He granted my request. I called Rose at home and told her about the emergency assignment. She didn't sound happy, but there was not a lot she could do. On my way home to pack, I stopped by each of the kids' schools and asked the school nurse to help me collect their identity kit samples. I dropped the completed tests with the kids' swabs at Harry's on my way to the airport. He thanked me and advised that he had engaged a private investigator to keep an eye on Rose while I'm away. I was heading to Kansas City, Missouri for 2 weeks. Rose.
Crap. Johnny is sick. All that effort for nothing. I thought that I would jump his bones tonight, but John just called to tell me he has been dispatched to Kansas City for at least 2 weeks. I have to be at least 5 weeks pregnant by now. This is going to be a problem. I called Mel and let him know that I may have to terminate this pregnancy if I can't get Johnny into bed within the next 3 weeks. I love sex with Mel, but I'm not risking my secure lifestyle for a monthly one-time thrill.
John. I just arrived in Kansas City. It felt good to stonewall Rose. Just as I was getting settled into my hotel room, my phone buzzed. I had new videos. I selected the first one and pressed play. Rose was on the phone with someone. I could hear both sides of the conversation because Rose had the caller on speakerphone.
Mel, we have a problem.
Rose said.
What is that, my baby?
Melvin asked.
I have not been able to get John into bed since we were last together.
And?
Melvin asked, apparently not understanding what Rose meant.
I can't get him to believe that this baby is his if I cannot get him into bed, you idiot.
Rose said with irritation in her voice.
Oh, okay.
Mel replied.
What are you going to do?
I'm not sure.
Rose replied.
I'm at least 5 weeks along, and Johnny will be out of town for at least 2 weeks or more.
What are your options?
Melvin asked.
I'm going to have to terminate if I can't get Johnny into bed within the next 2 weeks.
Rose replied.
I see.
Melvin said understandingly.
Will you do the procedure there in your town?
Melvin asked.
No. I'm thinking that I will probably come to your city to do it.
Excellent. Then I can handle your aftercare.
Melvin replied.
I'm still not sure though. I really want to have your baby again, my sweetie. I am really craving your sweet eggplant right now. It's my hormones, darling. They are going crazy. I am so freaking horny right now. You know that Johnny has never given me an orgasm. Ever.
Rose reminded.
I can fly in for a couple of days if you want. I can be there tonight.
Melvin offered.
Can you?
Rose replied hopefully.
Yes, babe. I can. I'll book a flight and hotel and be there in a few hours. I'll call you back with the details. Will you spend the night?
He asked.
All night, my lover.
Rose confirmed. They agreed to finalize everything in a few hours and ended the call. So, I never gave her any kind of pleasure? Wow. I felt so used, so worthless. Like an idiot who wasted 15 years of his life on a woman who didn't really want him. She didn't even deem me worthy to sire her kids. All I was ever good for in her eyes was as an ATM and a nanny. I began to feel a rage building within me that I had never felt before. Then Harry's options resonated in my head. I revised my answer. I don't feel any more love for this scheming bitch. I will always have love for the children, but I can no longer let Rose have her way with me. Let her have her fuck fest with Melvin. I will just bide my time. Chess, not checkers. Rose.
I'm driving to meet Mel at his hotel room. I'm so wet that my panties are soaked clear through. I know, TMI, but it's true. I had to put a towel on the seat to keep from having to clean my juices out of the seat fabric later. It's just my pregnancy hormones. I'm going crazy with this horniness. I don't want to terminate our pregnancy, but I will have to if Johnny doesn't come back within a couple of weeks. I have made a final decision on how I will do it though. I will get Planned Parenthood to give me the RU486 pills. No surgery, no out-of-town trip necessary. I walked into the hotel room and Mel was ready for me. Before I knew it, we were in his bed making love. He was so deep inside of me. After only a few minutes, I finished harder than I ever finished before in my life. The bed was a soaking mess. Mostly from me. At about that time, I felt a very sharp pain in my pelvic area. I pushed Mel off of me and ran into the bathroom. I was cramping badly and in a lot of pain. I sat on the commode, and to make a very long story short, I lost the baby. I was devastated. I took a shower, cleaned up and went to the hospital to get checked out. They confirmed that I lost the baby. Mel must have made me finish so hard that my cervix and uterus over-vibrated, disturbing the fetus. I know it's far-fetched, but it sure feels that way. Mel does that to me. It's nobody's fault. Women lose pregnancies. It is just something that happens. The hospital stabilized me and sent me home. I will essentially be menstruating for a few days, so Mel will head back home tonight. It sucks. Well, at least I won't have to make excuses or try to sleep with Johnny anymore. In a few weeks, I'll be back in Mel's arms. I'd better get back on the pill though.
John. I ended up staying in Kansas City for about 3 weeks. I got a lot of work done, ate some fantastic barbecue and most importantly, I have made some decisions on what to do about my cheating whore of a wife and her lover. I got most of the groundwork done for a very special surprise that will impact both of them. Harry called a week ago to let me know that none of our 3 children are mine biologically. I was expecting that, it just hurts to see it in black and white. Things have been quiet at the house. Rose goes to her part-time job, cares for the children and goes to bed. She didn't even talk to Melvin. While at home, anyway. Harry's private investigator has already briefed us on Rose's little adventure at Mel's hotel and the hospital. Now, I knew that she had gotten pregnant from Melvin, but subsequently lost the baby a couple of weeks ago. I also know that Melvin will be back in town in another 2 weeks or so. Perfect. I'll be home tomorrow. Chess, not checkers. Rose.
I can't believe Johnny has been away for almost 3 weeks. Of course, I couldn't tell him that I lost a baby from my lover and had to go to the hospital, but I'm glad the situation has been resolved. I am really missing Melvin. I started feeling up to intimacy again about a week ago. I still can't figure out why I never sat my sweet Johnny down and taught him how to love and satisfy me. I really regret how things have turned out between us. Mel called. He will be here in 10 days. I'm so excited. I'm on the pill now so there will be no more accidents.
John. I've been home for a few days now. For some reason, Rose is not so interested in jumping my bones anymore. At least I know why now. I enjoyed my trip. It gave me a lot of time to think about what I need to do. I am not a cuckold. I need to show my dear cheating wife and her lover that I am not their patsy. I've avoided talking to Harry about what I want to do. The whole lawyer not being involved thing is at play here. All I know is that I'm tired of feeling helpless. It's almost time to act. It's still chess. Oh my, I gotta go for now. I need to see a man about some space for rent. Part 3. Rose.
Well, the day has finally come. It's time to see Melvin. I usually park in a city parking garage and take a rideshare to his hotel. I don't want Johnny to accidentally see my car there. I bought a new outfit for Mel to check out. I even went to Victoria's Secret for him. I miss him so much. I drove into the parking garage with great anticipation and pulled into my normal parking space. As I got out of my car and turned around to open the back door to get my gym bag, Someone came up from behind and grabbed me by my neck while cupping my mouth so I couldn't scream. Then I felt a small pinch, like a needle in my neck area. My world went dark. When I woke up, I realized that I was blindfolded and tied to a chair with chains and handcuffs. A hard object was situated at the back of my head. The chair was very uncomfortable. I could not lean my head back due to the hard object being there. My arms and hands were free to move, but my wrists were chained to the chair. My feet were chained in a similar way. I was also gagged with some kind of a device over my mouth. But I could breathe fine. All of a sudden, a bright spotlight came on. My blindfold was removed from behind. I still couldn't see anyone. After looking around, I realized that I was sitting inside of a huge plexiglass tube. Kind of like a giant test tube. There was also a desk-like structure in front of me. The desk had 2 buttons on it. Kind of like what a game show might have. There was a large red button and a smaller blue button. The smaller blue button was covered by a locked plastic flip-up case. Like what you might see in a museum display. Just then, another light came on directly across the room from me. I saw another large plexiglass tube. Wait, is that Melvin? Mel was chained to a chair inside of the tube. He was staring at me. He was chained and gagged, just like I was. We could see each other, but we could not communicate verbally. After a few uncomfortable minutes, I heard a voice.
Hello, my despicable, cheating wife. Oh, and if it isn't Melvin Armstrong. Long time, no see buddy.
It was Johnny. His words were menacing.
Welcome to our little fun time. Oh, I guess you're both wondering why you are here. Well, let's get you some answers.
Johnny walked to a space in between our chairs. He was holding a device that resembled a large remote control. He pressed a button on the remote. A video of Mel and I in Johnny and I's marital bed played on screens situated in front of each of our chairs. Our full conversation from that day, every word of it, blasted over the speakers for an excruciating 15 minutes. I was sick. The security system captured us. Johnny knew everything. Each of our chairs then suddenly rotated sideways. I looked across at Melvin and saw that he had a 12-gauge shotgun pointed at the back of his head. The powerful rifle appeared to have some kind of mechanical trigger on it.
Take a look, lovers.
Johnny declared.
Each of your chairs are exactly the same. The triggers on each rifle are automatic, as you can see.
I then realized that the hard object I kept hitting my head against was the barrel of a 12-gauge. He said the chairs were the same. Johnny pressed another button. Our chairs rotated back to their original positions. Melvin and I could see each other face to face again. My gag then lowered from my mouth. A mechanism completed the task when Johnny pressed a button. Johnny, what in the hell are you? I tried to yell. Just then, my gag was reapplied by the machine with heavy force.
No, cheater.
Johnny said coldly as he wagged his index finger like Matumbo always did after blocking a dude's shot.
You don't get to speak unless you are spoken to. You are not in control here. If you can't behave, then you can just stay gagged. So would you like to try again?
I nodded eagerly. The gag hurt this time, and it was kind of suffocating. Johnny pressed a button and the gag again released. This time I remained quiet.
Excellent, now we are getting somewhere.
Johnny said.
So, I am just a nanny and cuckold for you, huh? A non-alpha, sweet, but not good enough to have kids with. Your words, cheater. Care to explain?
I was dumbfounded. After a few very uncomfortable moments, I finally found my words. Johnny, my dear, it's not what you think. I really love you with all of my heart. My meetings with Melvin mean nothing. It's just sex, once a month. It hasn't affected our marriage one bit.
Hold on right there, cheater.
Johnny interrupted.
Once a month? What is this, the National Guard of fucking? You had 4 kids with this guy, bitch. How is that love?
How in the hell did Johnny know that the kids are really Melvin's? I thought. Then I remembered Melvin and I's conversation from that afternoon in Johnny and I's bed. Damn, I should have refused Melvin when he insisted that we meet at my house last month. Johnny went on.
You said that you wanted your kids to have alpha blood. And on top of all that, you fucked this asshole in my own bed. The bed we laid together in every night. How is that love? Answer me, bitch.
I just sat there, my mouth was moving but no words were coming out. I had no answers. Johnny had never talked to me like that before. When I didn't respond, Johnny continued his barrage.
Oh, and I guess I never brought you to the finish line in bed either. When were you going to let me in on that little bit of information? We could have broken up in college and moved on to happier relationships. You would have your Melvin and I could have found someone that would truly love and respect me. And there would have been no hard feelings between us.
Then I interrupted with what had to have been the stupidest thing I could have said in that moment. Could we do that now, John? Upon hearing that, John's eyes turned beet red.
You want to be magnanimous now? After you stole 15 years of my life and hundreds of thousands of dollars of my resources raising your love children. How cruel does a person have to be to stay with someone who doesn't satisfy them for 15 years? Never tell him about the problem and then deny him the right to create a family. You can speak now, cheater. What do you have to say for yourself?
My mind was racing. He knew everything. What could I say? I just started talking and said the first thing that came to my mind. Johnny, I never needed physical pleasure from you. I needed stability from you. Oh. Again, that was the absolute wrong thing to say. Maybe I should think about what I'm going to say before opening my big mouth. After all, I am chained to a chair with a 12-gauge shotgun pointed to the back of my head. Johnny jumped back in.
Oh, you didn't need pleasure from me because you were getting physical pleasure from Mr. Alpha over there, right? Well, bitch, by the time we are done here today, we are going to see just how alpha this dude is. You can shut the fuck up for a while now, cheater.
John then pressed a button and my gag was reapplied to my face with more force. I was nearly choking on it because it was pressed so tightly to my face by the mechanical arms.
Let's turn our attention to our other guest.
Johnny said as he pressed a button on his remote. Melvin's gag was then removed just as mine had been.
Well, Mr. Alpha Male, how's that whole asserting your dominance thing going for you?
I was just joking, man. I'm really sorry.
Melvin said with terror in his voice.
No truer words have ever been spoken, asshole. You are indeed sorry as they come. Okay, so Mr. Alpha Male and Ms. Cheating Bitch, welcome to our little exercise. Are you ready to begin? Okay, let's have some fun.
Johnny walked behind my chair and took the shotgun in his hands. He racked a cartridge and placed the weapon close to my face while pointing it at a target on the ground. He fired the weapon. I screamed. The sound was deafening. The painful ringing in my ears had my head pounding. He did the same with Melvin's gun. After he fired the gun in Melvin's tube, I heard liquid running. Melvin had pissed himself.
Oh, is that piss I hear?
Johnny smirked.
Hey cheating bitch, your king just pissed all over himself. This is your idea of a real man?
The guns were real and loaded. His point was made. After the gun demonstration, John began to speak again.
Here are the rules for our little exercise. First, I will walk you through your control panels. It's simple. So simple, even our pissy alpha male over there can follow along.
Melvin was openly weeping at that point. I was truly embarrassed for him. I then realized that he was not the man I thought he was. I guess I'm realizing that too late though. Johnny continued.
Each of you will take turns pressing the red button on your console. Pressing that red button will signal the shotgun in the other tube to fire. When it's your turn, you have 10 seconds to press your button. I've placed a visible timer here for your convenience.
A large monitor then lit up that displayed 10 seconds.
If you fail to press your red button within 10 seconds, the gun in your tube will fire automatically. When you press your button, one or two things will happen. You will either hear a click.
John pressed a button on his remote and the click sound of a gun trying to fire was heard.
Or, you will blow your lover's head clean off. Make no mistake, lovers. One of you is going to get your head blown off in this room today. Whoever remains will be allowed to leave.
Just then, a brace locked around our heads. After that, John placed a device over each of our eyes that kept us from closing them.
There will be no looking away from this spectacle.
Johnny said coldly.
Oh, and the blue button, we'll get to that later if necessary. If we go 3 rounds with no winner, we will talk about the blue button. The cheating bitch gets to go first.
My timer came to life. It displayed 10 seconds and started counting down as a computer voice spoke the time remaining aloud.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6.
My trembling, shackled hand reached up and I hesitated. I could kill my Mel if I pressed this button. The computer voice interrupted my thoughts.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I hit my button. Another 3-second countdown started.
3, 2, 1.
A loud click was heard. Mel's gun didn't fire. Melvin cried out in agony as if he had been shot.
Do you have something to say, piss boy?
John asked as he ungagged him.
Please, man, please, I don't care anything about this bitch. She was just another piece of ass to me. I'll shoot her myself for you if you just let me go. I don't want to die. Please.
Wow, such loyalty. You're a real piece of shit, piss boy.
John said with contempt.
Hey cheating bitch, do you hear your lover disavowing you over here?
He then turned back to Melvin.
So piss boy, are you really saying that you would shoot this cheating bitch if I would agree to let you go?
Yes.
Melvin exclaimed.
Well, oh pissy one, you just might get your chance. Okay, Talk time is over, it's your turn, asshole.
The countdown started and Melvin hit his button before his timer hit 9. My shotgun clicked as I braced for immediate death. I was overcome with emotion and openly weeping.
So how did that feel, cheating bitch?
John asked.
Did your pathetic life flash before you? Were you thinking about dying? Was the piss boy's eggplant worth all of this? Answer me, bitch.
He yelled. No, no, no. Nothing is worth going through something like this. I'm so sorry, Johnny. We can fix this. Please give me a chance.
A chance?
John interrupted.
I have to hand it to you, cheating bitch, even when staring death in the face. You are reciting the cheater's handbook perfectly. Chapter and verse. Well, alrighty then.
Johnny proclaimed.
1 round done and both contestants are still alive. Okay, round 2. Piss boy Alpha, you're up. Oh wait, I forgot to tell you something. You can earn an extra turn by playing a truth card.
Johnny explained.
If you fire a blank, perhaps you would like another chance to blow your love partner's head off and escape this situation yourself. You can request a truth card for another chance to press your button if you like. I have completed an extensive investigation into both of you. Keep in mind that I know everything. You won't be able to bluff me. If you request a truth card, I will ask you a deeply personal and embarrassing question to which you will know the clear answer. I will not try to trick you. After all, we are talking about your lives here. I have some humanity. If you answer correctly, you get to press your button again. If you lie, the other player gets 2 presses. Totally optional, but it's available if you would like it. Go ahead, piss boy Alpha.
Mel presses his button. After the timer ran down, my gun clicked. I'm still openly crying. This is absolute torture. Please, Johnny, I'm sorry. I made a terrible mistake. Please, let's talk about everything. John didn't respond. Just then, my gag was reapplied. As I was being gagged, Melvin spoke up.
I'd like a truth card, please.
The piss boy wants to tell the truth.
Johnny yelled gleefully.
So, you want another chance to blow the cheating bitch's head off, huh?
I just don't want to die. Please.
Melvin exclaimed.
I'm not sure this behavior can be taken as asserting your dominance, piss boy.
Johnny hissed.
But you asked, and I'm a fair referee, so here is your truth card question. How many children do you really have? And how many of their mothers are married?
Melvin took a beat or two and then answered.
I have 17 children, including the 3 with Rose. All of the mothers are married.
Well played, pissy one.
Johnny exclaimed.
But before you take your free turn, I need to talk to the cheating bitch for a second. I'll be right back. Sit tight and just chill. Smoke 'em if you got 'em.
Johnny joked as he walked back over to my chair.
Hey listeners, we just couldn't resist that Spaceballs line. Hit the comments if you know what we are talking about. Okay, back to Rose.
I was ungagged. John then spoke.
Hey cheating bitch, how does it feel to know that your special someone has almost 20 children under the age of 18? All with married women.
I was sobbing uncontrollably. Mel lied to me. He said the kids he fathered with me were his only children. Satisfied, he then turned back to Melvin.
Press away, piss boy.
Johnny declared. Mel pressed his button. This time, I wished that my gun would just fire and put me out of my misery. But, just my luck, my gun clicked again.
Cheating bitch, it's your turn.
I pressed. Mel's gun didn't fire. I asked for a truth card. If Mel could do it, so could I.
Okay cheating bitch, here is your question. Is Melvin the only man you have ever cheated on me with since the day we became exclusive in college?
I knew the answer. Please don't make me say it, John. I begged Johnny.
Answer bitch.
Johnny roared.
You requested this.
No, I was with 3 other guys in college and I've had 2 other lovers besides Melvin since we have been married. Melvin's eyes got big as saucers.
You lying bitch.
He said from inside his tube.
I'm about to die over a cheap whore.
He said as he wept openly.
The cheating bitch has earned another press.
John declared.
Go ahead, press away.
I pressed my red button again. As the timer counted down, I wished that his gun would fire. He lied to me. Melvin's gun clicked yet again. He continued yelling and sobbing through his gag. I can't take this anymore, is what I heard him saying. He sounded like he was having a nervous breakdown. Just then, the blue button on each of our consoles began flashing.
Oh, it's speed round time.
Johnny exclaimed.
The flashing blue button is your punk out switch. If at any time you get tired of the pressure from playing our little game, you can flip up the plastic cover and press the blue button. Your gun will immediately fire, ending the game. And your life. Piss boy, it's your turn.
Melvin's eyes looked around wildly as his 10 seconds ticked down. At the 3-second mark, I saw him remove the cover over his blue button. It all played out in slow motion to me. But in reality, it was only a fraction of a second. I tried to yell no to him. Before I could get the words out, his gun went off. The inside of Mel's tube was immediately enveloped in a sea of red liquid as particulate matter slid down the inside tube walls. I saw it all. I couldn't look away. It was horrifying. I felt myself getting sick. I then vomited all over myself. I was still crying. All of a sudden, my timer lit up and started counting down.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6.
I braced for death. When the timer got to 1, the gun behind me fired. It was finally over. Sweet death, here I come. But then I smelled gun smoke. I realized that I was still alive.
Oh, my bad. That must have been a blank cartridge, cheating bitch.
Johnny said mockingly. I then noticed that I had urinated and defecated on myself. I was shaking like a leaf. My eyelid brace was removed. I could blink again. It felt good. I held my head in my hands and sobbed uncontrollably.
Oh no, cheating bitch, you don't get off that easy. You get to live with what you just saw. I guess your alpha male king couldn't take the pressure and punked out.
Johnny whispered into my ear menacingly.
You are about to go to sleep. When you awake, you will be in a faraway place. I strongly suggest you stay there. If you don't, you had better not return to California ever again. Stay away from the kids. They are mine and only mine now. For life. Try to contact any of us and I will make sure that every member of your family ends up in a tube playing this little game with me. Have I made myself clear, bitch?
Yes, I said through tears. Just then I felt a pinch in my neck. My world went dark again. When I woke up, I was in a hotel room. The room was dark and quiet. After coming to my senses, I turned on the nightstand light. I realized that I had been bathed and redressed at some point. I was wearing a cotton nightgown with no underwear. A suitcase was on the bed. It contained my own clean clothes from my bedroom and toiletries. There was also an iPad, an envelope and a set of keys on the desk. I woke up the iPad. A message scrolled across the screen. The message read,
You are at a Hyatt Place hotel in Kansas City, Kansas. Your car is outside. Your belongings are in a storage unit in Kansas City and the key to that unit is on the enclosed key ring. The address is on a slip of paper in the envelope. Also in the envelope, you will find $20,000 in cash. You do not have to stay in Kansas, but you can never return to California for the rest of your life. You must never try to contact the children. If they ever find you as adults, you are to say that you left the family because you could not take the pressure of being a mom anymore. If you ever discuss yesterday's exercise with any living soul, you and your family will be invited back for another round. We will be watching you. For life. Accept this lesson and live honestly from now on. Goodbye, cheating bitch.
I just sat there, staring at the screen. After a few seconds, the iPad screen went blank and the device would not reboot. It was dead. I reviewed my options. I could fight, return to my children, show bravado and challenge John. But what if I find myself in that tube again? What else could I do? I was in a nightmare of my own making. And I paid a heavy price.
John, present day. I know what you all might be thinking. How in the name of all that is holy did I manage to pull that little stunt off? Well, I can't tell you everything. But after 10 years, I can talk about it a little bit. If you remember earlier in the story, I told you that I asked my boss at the bank to send me on an out-of-town assignment. During those 3 weeks that I was in Kansas City, I met some really interesting people. As I was heading to dinner one night, I saw a police car with its emergency lights on. It looked like they had a man handcuffed on the ground. But something didn't look right. I could see that a couple of the officers were striking the man on his body with their batons. I pulled over and jumped out of my rental car. What's going on here? I asked the officers.
Mind your own business.
One of the officers said. I then pulled out my ID. I am this man's attorney. If you continue this course of action, you will have to appear in court and show cause. That did the trick. The officers uncuffed the man and departed the scene. As they drove away, the man spoke to me.
Why did you do that?
The man asked. They had no right to treat you like that. I had to do something. I replied.
Well, thank you very much.
The man said as he extended his hand.
My name is Ricky.
Nice to meet you, Ricky. I'm John. So why were those cops harassing you? I asked. I took a better look at the young man. Ricky was Caucasian, well-dressed and driving a nice car. Everything just seemed odd.
Well, it's not so much about me.
Explained Ricky.
Are you really a lawyer?
He asked. Yes, I am. I replied as I handed him my business card.
Well, John, I can't thank you enough for helping me. I have to run. Take care.
Ricky said all of that as he hopped back in his car and drove away with haste. The whole incident played out over about 15 minutes. I just scratched my head in amazement and proceeded to have dinner. The next day, I was working in one of the bank's Kansas City branch offices when the receptionist advised me that I had a visitor. I asked who it was. She said it was Mr. Richard Bates Sr. I froze. Richard Bates is literally one of the most powerful men in Kansas. He is an industrialist who has a hand in many businesses in Missouri and other states. Car dealerships, manufacturing, office space, transportation, and warehousing. He is our bank's most important customer in Kansas. I wasn't sure why he wanted to meet with me, a lowly, relatively anonymous staff lawyer. I told the receptionist to please show him in right away. Mr. Bates, it's a pleasure to meet you, I said as I extended my hand.
Mr. Jenkins, Johnny, the pleasure is all mine.
He replied in a very friendly voice. To what do I owe the pleasure? I asked as we sat down at my small conference table.
Well, son, it seems you intervened in a traffic stop last night. That's why I'm here.
My heart jumped into my throat, thinking I had done something wrong. Seeing the look on my face, Mr. Bates said,
Relax, son. You did nothing wrong. I just came by to thank you. You see, Ricky is my son. Richard Bates II.
He explained.
Those suburban police assholes think they can bully people just because they have guns and badges. Ricky wasn't doing anything wrong last night, except for being my son. I pulled a major construction project out of that community due to the high cost. Their harassment of Ricky was just that town's way of expressing their disappointment. Politics, Kansas style.
Oh, I see. I replied.
It seems you broke their little tea party up. That took a lot of balls. If you ever need anything, you've made a powerful friend for life. Stay in touch, son. Let me know how you're doing. And thanks again.
Mr. Bates said as he shook my hand again. He then left my office just as quickly as he came in. Okay, so without going into a terrible amount of detail, let's just say that Mr. Bates has a lot of connections. When I told him what Rose and Melvin were doing to me, he had a guy, who had a guy, who had a guy. And you kind of get the rest. You might be asking how I explained Rose's disappearance to the kids. Well, that was pretty easy. I told the kids that their mom had to leave the family because she did not want to be a mommy anymore. They were sad at first, but kids bounce. They got over it eventually. I never told the kids about their true paternity. If they ever find out, and they probably will, my plan is to act as surprised as them. It really doesn't matter, they are and will always be my children. I love them all more than anything in the world. The kids are now 24, 22 and 19 and are all in school. John Jr. is in graduate school. Miranda graduates this year and Melanie is starting her sophomore year. All of my kids attend UCLA as legacies under me. A year after Rose deprived us of her presence, I filed for divorce citing abandonment. It was granted with no complications about 9 months later. About 2 years after that, I met and married a nice woman who worked with me at the bank. After 6 years of marriage, we are very happy. We now have 3 children of our own under 5 years old. John Jr., Miranda and Melanie just adore their little siblings. We are all one, huge and very happy family. Melvin's disappearance case went cold about a year after we played our little game. His remains were never found. The location that we used for our little exercise was completely empty and as spotless as a hospital operating room before the sun came up the next morning. I don't really have any attacks of conscience over Melvin's death. He deserved it, in my opinion. I technically didn't kill him. He chose to kill himself. I just created the environment. Had Rose ended up taking the blast, Melvin would have been the one waking up in a Kansas City hotel room the next morning. To be honest, I didn't really care which one of them took the blast and which one of them ended up in Kansas City. Oh, and Rose, well, as promised, someone has been keeping tabs on her over all these years. She took the $20,000, got in her car, collected her belongings in a tow-behind U-Haul trailer and left Kansas City the same day that she was deposited there. She ended up in Des Moines, Iowa of all places. She rented a house, found a job and settled into her new community. A couple of years later, she met and married a local guy. They now have 2 small children. To the best of my knowledge, she lives a quiet, honest life and takes good care of her husband and family. Good for her. Oh, and I did finally get around to having the security company come out and fix the glitch in their system that started it all. Well, what do you think? Was I too harsh with Rose and Melvin? Should I have just divorced Rose and sued her and Melvin for paternity fraud? All reasonable questions, but in real life, there are never really any clear answers. What would you have done? Given the same circumstances and resources that I had available to me at the time, what would your decision be? The end. Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed this story. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, share and follow Ace of Hearts Storycast.